My lady friend did not like hearing how much I enjoyed the conclusion to the class. A mistake I never repeated. What unexpectedly turned you on? I was in Japan and had a crush on a woman from South France. Returned to the US in line for fast food, and I heard a woman behind me speaking with a southern French accent. Popped a boner in line for a slice of pizza. When I was a kid, I saw Mona Lisa from my grammar school art book. The first time I saw her, with hands on her knee. How do I say this? I had a boner. Coming down off a DMT trip, and there is no easy way to say this. I masturbated thinking about my bedroom door. The first time I used a riding lawnmower when I was like 12. All the vibrating gave me a raging hard-on. To this day, whenever I use one to mow, I get at least half a stalk. I accidentally Pavloved myself. There used to be this porn I watched with two chicks in it that had no audio other than music by Disturbed. Years later, Disturbed came on the radio, and I instantly got turned on. Was so confused for like 10 seconds. An ex-boyfriend lecturing me about money. I don't think it was the context, just the way he did it. Like a stern father. He did a lot of things in a stern, disapproving dad way, and it was hot. I guess this means I have daddy issues. So when I was in my early teens and just discovering sex, I decided that since I was a bit of an artist, I could draw porn for myself. I started with a vag, and that was all well and good, but then I decided to try a dick and suddenly sproing. I was not expecting that in the slightest. My, at the time, fiancé was in school to be an engineer. Meanwhile, I was struggling to get through algebra. She sat down with me and began to explain the logic behind the equations I was using. The more she talked, the wetter I became. Finally, I couldn't ignore my primal instinct any longer, and I had her right there on the kitchen table. It ended up happening almost every time she tried to talk math to me from then on. Once my boyfriend and I were cooking dinner together, and halfway through it was ruined because he hadn't kept his eye on the hot pan. It was one of the first times he had tried to cook something somewhat fancy for me, plus it was late, and we were both hungry and tired. Normally he's very kind and gentle, but he got super frustrated and slammed his hand against the wall, swearing. It was startling, and at first, I was a bit scared, then I got super turned on by it. A girl I was friends with had apparently been giving me hints for a while that I hadn't been picking up on. One time we are hanging out and she goes to take a pee. She yells at me from the bathroom to come here. I walk up to the door and ask her what she needs. With no hesitation she says, "Come in here, I want you to watch me pee." Unexpected turn on for some reason. Older women who give off dom mommy vibes. Once I had an older woman with that short silver fox haircut and a stronger jaw call me a good girl while I was at work. Because I did something right with her order that nobody else could for some reason. I'm a relatively straight female, or am I? Well, When I was at the airport and had like 20k knock in cash and wanted to exchange it for euros. Took me a long time to count, but this bank woman at the airport just took my money and did some magic with her fingers that went so fast I couldn't believe it, and she knew within seconds how much money I gave her. More than that, the whole way she acted with the whole transaction was so unbelievable. I have never experienced anything like that level of professionalism in my entire life. How could I not be turned on by the most pro woman I have ever seen? Was in bed with my girlfriend and the remote was at the end of the bed. I sit up and basically lazily reach for it on all fours. I'm in some boxer briefs that have a pouch-like thing for your junk, so when I bent over, my ball bulge was pretty much in her face. She just playfully punched me in the balls and it hurt and stung, but I almost instantly got hard. I'm now laying on my back holding my balls in protection. She can see the outline of my obvious boner though and starts laughing confusedly. She volunteered to blow me as an apology, and since I was already hard, I asked her to tap my balls a little throughout, and I nutted harder than ever. Basically now all of our foreplay commences with light ball busting. First off, I'm a guy. So my high school had a darkroom for a black and white film photography program. I was the only boy in the course, there were about 10 to 15 girls in the class. I was pretty good, and by my junior year, I had been involved in the program longer than any other student. Having so much experience led to me being a good place to go for advice on printing their photos. I would go to their station to figure things out, and the same 3 friends of mine, that were girls in that class, would come up behind me and rest their chin on my right shoulder, and that would always wake me up. I never expected something like that to send goosebumps up and down my body and warrant a reaction downstairs, but it happened, and I took it in stride from then on. Hung out mini-golfing with a group of friends. Our resident goof was being her typical self. Kinda ditzy and along for the ride but not very skilled, just sort of aloof. Also she's into me, but it's unfortunately not mutual. We all went to play pool as a last-minute decision, and as it turns out, her aunt has a pool table in her house, and she's been playing for ages every week. She snapped instantly into an extremely unusual focus and level of skill. The pool cue was an extension of the body that she was moving across, on, and around the table, like it was a sophisticated dance that nobody knew better than her. I have never been more aroused by that woman than I was that night. Ever since, it's been the same group dynamic, she's been the same person that I'm platonically friends with. I'll never forget how she woke something up in me that night though, or how weird it was. Fear. Years ago I was playing the first BioShock with an ex in a fully darkened room with a wall-sized projector. At some point we came across an operating room where the lights were flickering, blood everywhere, and then got jump-scared by a psycho doctor. Full on threw that controller across the room and jumped into his arms. Shortly after we got busy. Years later when my mom died I uncovered her old stash of Omni magazines, where I found an article on the fear response and sexual arousal, and it all made sense. I am an older college student, 38, who has been fortunate enough to fall in with a friend group of younger students. Being the oldest and, presumably, the wisest, they have taken to calling me dad, pops, etc. One day, one of the young ladies called me daddy. You'll edit. No, nothing happened other than an embarrassed look out of her when she realized her gaffe. For my part, I instantly felt like a creep. I am happily married and have 2 kids that are not too much younger than her. I don't think it was intentional, and even if it was, I would not have acted on it. These kids really do treat me like their own real dad. They make sure I have eaten when I get cranky, they bring boyfriends and girlfriends to meet me. They ask me for advice. Okay. I don't know if this counts but I used to go to physical therapy for a back injury when I was about 17. After each session of exercises they would give you a massage and then an ice pack, as well as patch you with an electrical stimulating device. The routine massage came about and the guy that was working on me pushed a certain part of my buttocks that made me just ducking unload my balls into my pants. Like he found a damn nuclear launch button in my glute area. My embarrassment was immeasurable and my day was ruined. Skipped the ice pack and electrical stimuli. Went to yoga with my lady friend. At the end of the class, the instructor had us all lie on our backs on our mats, and she was humming or lightly singing. Then she rubbed a lemony oil on our shoulders and foreheads, and the touching and humming gave me a braingasm, and I've been into ASMR ever since. My lady friend did not like hearing how much I enjoyed the conclusion to the class. A mistake I never repeated. There was a Disney TV movie in like 2008 called Minutemen. At the start of the movie 2 of the main male characters are forced to dress as cheerleaders by school bullies and are hung from a flagpole while all the students watch and laugh. That turn on made 10-year-old me awfully confused. And I'm pretty sure that me watching that movie had a huge effect on future me's kinks. Edit. They were hung from a bull statue, not a flagpole. Also, this has reminded me of many TV shows I watched as a kid that were, let's say, influential. Like Ash having to dress as a girl in one episode of Pokémon. An episode of The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, where one of the boys had to dress as a girl to win a beauty pageant. I could go on, but I think you all get the point. My former professor took a job as a copywriter for the education system in our company. So I write the technical stuff, send it to him, and he'll make it nice to read. First time I read his work on my text, I was amazed by how well he understood what I meant and made it so much better, and I got wet. I still sometimes think about certain paragraphs when masturbating.
Like and subscribe for more funny, interesting, and scary r/ask Reddit videos.